I'm going to try and give you, as the name suggests, a proper introduction to this topic. Because I said we were going to start it on Monday, and you did start it on Monday, but you had to do it without the benefit of any explanation. So I'm going to try and do a little better for you today. All right. So to begin with, I want to try and get in your head, why are we doing this topic, communications systems? You've been looking at communication systems for a long time, haven't you? Like, virtually every system you've been thinking about, it seems, has been a system that has communication in it, right? So why are we looking at this? Well, I want to distinguish between three different categories of system, okay? And I've got them here in the first task. Information systems, systems that communicate, and communication systems. They might seem very similar to you, and admittedly they do overlap quite significantly, as you'll see in a second. But I want to try and distinguish between them. Okay, so I was trying to think about a Venn diagram that would represent these, and usually we think of Venn diagrams as these things. You know, you've got like these overlapping, interlocking circles, and sometimes this works, right? You know, students who take commerce and students who take IPT, right? There's some who take only one, some who take only the other, and some who take both, and then there's ones who take neither, right? When it comes to these three categories, these ones that I'm showing you here, they don't quite overlap in the traditional Venn diagram way. This is still a Venn diagram, by the way, it's just a different kind. Okay. So let's start from the top, the most general term, the one you're most familiar with, information systems. Information systems. It's the broadest term. That's why it's on the biggest. I was going to call it a circle, but I don't really know what shape it is. The biggest area, okay? Information systems, you know what they are. Collection of interrelated parts that work together to achieve a common purpose, specifically to do with processing information. You guys are very familiar with that, okay? Now, I wanted to draw out what this is as distinct from the next level in, or the next more narrow set, which is systems that communicate. Now, let's just, before we go any further, can you see, right, that there are systems which are information systems, but they don't communicate? Okay, we don't tend to think about them because they're not as fancy or cool or modern, but they're everywhere around us. For instance, they might be on your wrist. Okay, so this is why I had to ask for one of these, because I have one, but it's analog, and we're trying to think of electronic ones. So anyway, this is an information system. Yes, do we agree? What's its purpose? To tell the time. Thank you. And it's got cool other functions as well, right? It can tell you the day. It can allow you to time a specific small period, because it's got a stopwatch in it. Morning, come in. It's an information system. There's no two ways about it, right? But this system cannot communicate with any other system, right? If you like, it's a closed system, right? So it's an information system, but it can't communicate. So a watch would be out here. There's my pathetic attempt at drawing a wristwatch, okay? Now, before we go on, I'd like you to think of some other examples as well. Here's one, okay? I'm going to give you examples each level along the way, but I'd like you to think of a few more, okay? So here's an information system, but it can't communicate. Right? Now, systems that communicate. We're really thinking about systems that communicate with other systems, right? Now, to draw out what these are, let me distinguish between this and the next level, which is the one we're really interested in. Whoa, what happened to my colours? Can I change? Yeah, that's better. Nestled right in the middle, the most specific kind, are what I'm calling communication systems. Okay. Now, what's the difference between these guys and the next level up? Okay. Systems that communicate. They are systems that communicate with other systems, but their purpose doesn't really have to do with communication. Okay? Their purpose. Remember what a purpose is? Very important. Okay? My example for you is a traffic light. What is the purpose of a traffic light? You're driving along the road, and you see a traffic light up in the, hanging off a pole. What's its purpose? Sitting there. Why is it there? to tell you when to go, when to stop, when to slow down. Okay, so that's a very user-centric sort of way of describing its purpose. You may also say its purpose is to ensure the flow of traffic, right, in a safe and orderly way. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that purpose? Okay. Now, can you see that the purpose of this system doesn't have to do with communication explicitly, right? Does that make sense? If this traffic light could accomplish that purpose, accomplishing safe and orderly traffic, right, without communicating, then that would be fine. It would still be serving its purpose, right? But as it is, at least the current way we've designed traffic lights, the traffic light can't do that purpose. It can't accomplish it without communicating. Who does it have to communicate with? Think. I'm talking specifically about other systems. What other, because that's what communication, transmitting, receiving is, right? Which other systems is the traffic light communicating with? Good. That button that we press when we want to cross the road, right? It's a little system in itself. And I don't know if you've ever been walking along the road, but sometimes you'll see like a big green box. It's about as tall as me, right? It's rectangular, and it says a black and yellow number on it, and it says don't touch because there's electrical stuff inside it. So there's a computer system in there that receives input from those pedestrian buttons, right? And then it communicates to the traffic lights and tells it, hey, you should go red now or yellow now or whatever. Okay. So this system is communicating. Okay. So let me draw a traffic light. Okay. It's communicating, but it's only communicating because it has to, right? If it could do its purpose some other way, that'd be great, and we would do it. Okay. So again, it's really to do with purpose. Okay. The system communicates, but communication is not at the core of why it exists, right? So now you can probably get at what's a communications system, as distinct from a system that just communicates. Okay. A communication system is an information system which communicates, but its purpose has to do with communication, right? The reason it exists is to communicate with other systems, right? And so the most common example of this, I gave you a couple of days ago, is one of these, right? Now just think about this, right? This is a system that communicates, but it's more than a system that communicates. If this system can't communicate, it doesn't have a purpose. Does that make sense? So it's different to the traffic light, right? The point of this system, its purpose, is to transmit a message, to be received by someone else, and to receive them back. Okay? So this is a communication system. Your modem at home, the phone in your pocket. In some ways, your laptops, they are communication systems, right? TV towers, radio stations, they are communication systems. If they can't communicate, their purpose doesn't make sense. Okay? Okay, so that's distinguishing between these three different categories. I'd like you to think of more than just the three examples I gave you. Okay? How do I draw a phone? Okay. Phones are really easy to draw these days because I just have to draw that. Oh, look, it's an iPhone. Okay. So there's one example for each. I'd like you to think of two more for each so that you'll have three in total. Okay? Just so that when you come back to this, you'll remember and understand what these different categories are.